The following morning dawned bright, a soft veil of mist still hanging over the gardens of the Ward estate. Sunlight filtered through tall windows, spilling gold across the marble floors. To Grace, it looked like heaven had brushed against earth. She stood in the grand hallway, holding a bucket and a feather duster, her heart fluttering in her chest. Grace, to herself, softly, you're here now. Don't be afraid to shine where God has placed you. It had been years since she'd felt clean clothes against her skin. The maid's uniform fit loosely, but she wore it with quiet dignity. She didn't know that, at that very moment, Ethan Ward was standing behind a doorway, watching her from the shadows. Scene 1A: Plan of Deception. In his private study, Ethan sat before his mother, Margaret Ward, his face unreadable. Margaret, Ethan, I've heard you hired a girl with no background, no references, and no experience. What are you trying to prove? Ethan, maybe that people are more than their resumes. Margaret, the world doesn't run on sentiment, darling. Ethan, maybe it's time it did. He paused, folding his hands, his voice lowering. Ethan, I've been thinking about something. Mother, a way to understand people, really understand them. Margaret, go on. He hesitated, knowing she'd think him mad. Ethan, I'm going to pretend to be blind. Margaret's eyes widened. Margaret, blind? Ethan, that's absurd. Ethan, no, it's honest. When people think you can't see them, they stop pretending. You find out who they really are. He stood, pacing. Ethan, all my life, people have smiled to my face and stabbed behind my back. I've been praised, envied, used, but I want to know what love looks like. Real love, without money, without titles, without eyes. Margaret softened. Beneath her sternness, there was always a mother's heart. Margaret, and this girl, Grace, is she part of this plan? Ethan quietly, she's the reason for it. For the first time in years, Margaret saw a spark in her son's eyes, not ambition, but yearning. She said nothing more. Scene 2: The blind man. By afternoon, the mansion staff were buzzing with whispers. Mr. Ward has gone blind. Grace heard it while polishing the grand staircase railing. Her heart ached instantly. She didn't know him personally, but something about the name Ethan Ward stirred gratitude in her. He had given her a home when no one else would. Maid 1, whispering, they say it's sudden, an accident, maybe. Poor man. Maid 2, imagine having all that wealth and losing your sight. Grace set her rag down and whispered a prayer under her breath. Grace, Lord, if it's true, give him peace. Let me serve him well. Scene 3: The first meeting. Late that afternoon, Mrs. Whitfield summoned her to the West study. Grace entered nervously, smoothing her uniform. The room was dim, curtains half drawn, and there, sitting in a chair by the window, was Ethan, dark hair slightly disheveled, a cane beside him, his eyes turned toward the light but unfocused. Grace froze. There was something achingly familiar about him, but she couldn't place it, not realizing this was the same man who had approached her on that rainy street. Ethan softly, who's there? His voice was calm, low, carrying both command and fragility. Grace, it's Grace, sir. The new maid. Mrs. Whitfield sent me to tidy the room. Ethan, Grace, that's a good name. She blushed slightly. Grace, thank you, sir. I'll be quiet while I work. He smiled faintly. Ethan, you don't have to whisper. I can't see you, but I can hear kindness when it's near. Her heart trembled. No one had ever spoken to her like that, gently, sincerely. As she dusted the bookshelves, Ethan listened to her movements. There was something rhythmic, peaceful, about the way she worked. No rush, no resentment, just quiet purpose. Finally, he said, Ethan, tell me something. Grace, do you believe people are born good, or made good? She paused, thinking. Grace, I think we're all born broken, sir, but God lets us choose whether we stay that way. Ethan turned slightly, as if her words had reached deeper than she knew. Ethan, you sound like someone who's chosen not to stay broken. Grace, smiling faintly, every morning, sir, one choice at a time. For the first time in years, Ethan felt peace in another person's voice. He wanted to ask her everything, her story, her pain, her faith, but he stopped himself. Ethan, you can finish here tomorrow. Thank you, Grace. Grace, of course, sir. I'll pray for you tonight. Her words landed like a soft promise. When she left, Ethan sat in silence. For the first time since beginning his deception, he wondered if the truth might destroy something precious before it even had the chance to live. Scene 4: The prayer. That night, Grace knelt by her small bed, the moonlight washing over her hands clasped in prayer. Grace, Lord, I don't understand your ways, but thank you for this chance. Help me serve with honesty, and if Mr. Ward truly can't see, let him still feel your light. Down the hall, Ethan sat alone in darkness. He could almost hear her faint voice carried by the quiet of the mansion. He closed his eyes, and for the first time in his life, the darkness didn't frighten him. It comforted him, because somewhere in that same darkness, Grace was praying. Closing scene. The awakening. Outside, the night air was still, and the city lights shimmered far beyond the gates. Ethan whispered into the silence. Ethan, maybe, just maybe, this is how I'll finally learn to see. And in that sacred stillness, a small switch began to flip. The one between sight and soul, pride and purpose, deception and destiny. The big switch had truly begun.